Welcome to Sidetracked, your unofficial agency of record. I'm Shane.
And I'm Emily, and we help run Trek, a tech-driven, full-service creative agency based in Rockford, Illinois.
Here on the podcast, we tackle our clients' biggest marketing challenges. We reveal what's worked for us and dig into real-life case studies and practical strategies you can put to work today.
Curiosity is our compass, which is why we always start with a question. All right, today's big questions. What channels are breaking through right now?
I have an answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Print. Print is breaking through right now. I wanted to talk about this topic because recently we had a print piece for a client that just blew all of our expectations. The client printed a couple thousand pieces, and it was so popular with their audience. People were like demanding this print piece. They immediately ran out. They decided to do a new iteration of the piece again next year, but do double the print run. It was so popular, and we thought it was, we obviously did our best work and we thought it was really good, but it surprised us how much people loved it and wanted it, and it really broke through.
And you think that's because it was print?
I do. I think it was because, and not just any print, it was, a high-end print, really nice paper, good, high-quality printing, awesome finishes, cool interactive components to the piece. So it was a nice print piece for sure. But I think it was the fact that it was a physical object that got mailed to them and arrived on their desk that they could kind of unpack and unbox and interact with in the physical world.
I like that message too in that campaign. It was demonstrating in print what they were trying to communicate, what they were trying to say. It was demonstrating at the same time. So I think it was really useful as well as just interesting, something that I wanted. You would want to get it.
And we've seen other print campaigns really break through this year and last year in ways that emails weren't able to, or in some cases, social media posts weren't able to. So from what I'm seeing across all of our clients right now, I think print is the channel that's being maybe overlooked by some marketers because it's having a moment and it's really powerful.
Yeah, breaking through kind of that question kind of gets at the fact that there is a lot of other things to push past, like the fatigue from the many emails or the many even ads or whatever the digital world that you live in. You're bombarded by different messages and that kind of thing. And as a marketer, it can be difficult to figure out, is it my message that I need to change to break through, or is it the channel? And we talked about this a little bit just offline when we were talking about this topic, but there are messages too that are just better delivered in another channel, maybe your message isn't wrong. It's just wrong for social media, or it's wrong for email. And it's better if you put it in another channel like print, something that is communicating a message that is best done in that way.
And we talked last episode about trade shows and specifically trade show booths and sponsorships. And
extensively talked about
yeah, the way you appear at trade shows. But one thing we didn't touch on is, as much as we discussed about trade shows, we didn't touch on the other things you can do at live events, like speaking at live events or just going, just attending live events to meet people. And I think both of those are really powerful right now too, because in this world where you are being bombarded with digital messages and you can't tell, what's AI and what was actually written by a human, seeing people in person, connecting with people in person, that I think that's the way right now. Like, we've discussed internally at Trek, like, one of our strategies this year is we're going analog. We're sending handwritten notes to people, we're showing up, we're meeting people in person, we're having coffees. It's a little old school, but it's what's working right now.
Yeah, we're speaking at events.
We're speaking at events. I also find myself in meetings recently repeating the phrase, "We are human beings." Just to remind people, because I feel like we need this reminder right now. Like, remember, we are human beings. We're all here together in this space. We are really actually people. Um, and and human beings, like, as human beings, we want connection, and we want to create things, and we want to build. And I think this physical media and print specifically calls to something within humans and reminds them, I am a human being and I can create things.
Yeah, that it also is like looking at what makes good marketing is a lot of times looking at like what do people, as you're saying, need right now. And I think it was Ryan Reynolds at Inbound a couple of years ago said in 2020 they had that same kind of thought, and they were like, we just want to make people just need lighthearted. They just need to laugh. And so like all their ads were just like trying to be really funny and really positive, knowing that like that's what the world needed.
Mm.
And I think looking at some other things and other ideas of trends, like people are buying a lot more vinyl records these days. They want the physical, the tangible, the memory that makes. We talk, and we are avid readers ourselves, so we talk about print and books and having that physical book and wanting to have it in your hand. Like that is like a level of connection too that is helps you kind of like immerse yourself in whatever it is that you are interested in. And I think that is what people need now is they need to be able to uh, go dark if they want, go analog, in a way that like makes it their control. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, but like the option to like people have the pauses on social media on their phone, so that they're not scrolling all the time
Mhm.
or having young kids in my house, there's no screens during the week, because I don't want them to be bombarded by that all the time. And on the weekends, it's a little harder, but like you have the ability to set the boundaries for yourself. And then if you're only marketing in all these digital channels, you just get shut off with the rest of it when people are just so overwhelmed. And speaking to that place inside them that just needs that connection and offline and quiet even.
That's a really good point because more and more we're seeing, especially younger people, are saying no to digital channels and getting dumb phones and staying off social media because they know that that's better for their mental health. And in a case like that, you're right. If you're 100% bought in on digital marketing, you're not doing anything else. You're just missing out on that audience entirely. And there are other ways to reach them in ways that they consent to and are okay with. Like, if you are selling products, having a really nice print catalog that people can opt into and then experience maybe once a quarter when it comes to their home and they can spend some time with it and enjoy reading it and interacting with your brand. I think it's worth definitely thinking about how the different demographics are thinking about some of these channels. And another point is we were talking with Nick Grobe, our producer, before this episode, and he asked that question, like, I know that like some of these like print channels, like catalogs, feel really nostalgic to maybe like millennials and Gen Z, but how do the younger demographics experience them and do they like them? And actually, the research is showing that they like them even more than we do. Um, but it's not because they're nostalgic, it's because they're new. Like, when so many catalogs paused for so long, the reintroduction of catalogs it's like a new experience for these younger folks, and there's a lot of opportunity there.
So, channels that are breaking through right now, print, trade show, in-person moments, handwritten notes, if you have that kind of, maybe that's a tip for your sales team.
Mhm.
Going analog in the ways that make sense for your audience is really the answer here.
Yeah.
Anything else stand out?
Well, I would say we're not advocating to completely ditch your digital channels and go entirely analog. They have to work hand in hand. I mean, for most of our clients, we are running digital ads. We are doing email marketing of a really high quality, voice driven, personalized email can do a lot for somebody who wants to receive that email, is consenting to receive that email, wants to be interacting with your brand. That email can do a lot. So I think some of it is also maybe applying the lessons that we're learning from the resurgence of analog channels to digital channels. So, why does a personalized physical print piece work so well? It's because you used what you knew about this person to tailor the messaging to them, and you're interacting with them in a way that they've opted into and feels good to them and they like. And I think thinking about digital channels in that way too, how can we get in front of people in a way that they're happy to see us? And we're not spamming them with junk email. Like, we would say, don't spam somebody with print mail. Like, don't send junky print mail. That's not going to work. That's going to backfire. It's going to be worse for your brand than if you just invest the time and money to make a really nice print piece. I would say the exact same thing about email. Don't send junky emails. Don't go for volume over quality. Send one really nice, well thought out, personalized, well designed email a month. And that's going to do more for your brand than just we get inundated with emails. I've gotten, 10 emails this week from the same person. It's clearly automated, it's clearly written by AI. There is actually no person behind this. Stop doing that. That is the equivalent of junk mail.
I think that's kind of some of the why for these breakout channels too is obviously the AI conversation and the influx of AI content that you're forced to consume on all of the channels now, and
Mhm.
so that if it's in print, it's like that doesn't scream this was done by AI and without any thought or intention. If I see an email that was clearly written by AI or a social media post that was done clearly by AI too, it feels careless, and that's kind of what you're saying. Use the same
I know.
care. The rules apply to all the channels. Use care and do it well. Don't just do a lot of it for the sake of checking a box.
And people put time and care into their high-end print pieces because they are expensive. And they don't do the same thing sometimes with their emails because email feels cheap. But cheap marketing is not cheap. Cheap marketing costs your brand. That is just a rule of thumb to remember. I think the other thing is, yes, we're being inundated by AI slop. And at the same time, we're all hearing messages that AI is going to take your job and, AI is
You
possibly going to
have to embrace
completely.
it or it'll leave you behind.
Yes, like either you have to fully embrace it or no matter what you do, it's going to take your job and it's going to completely change the economy, potentially for the worse. And there are some people who are really excited about it, some people who are really scared about it. And in that environment, it is good to send things that just, again, like remind people that they are human Like, we all just need that reminder right now. And that like call to the creativity that exists with inside every single human being. And that's why I love interactive print as well, because it's not just I made something cool and I'm sending it to you, but I made something cool and I'm sending it to you so that you can have an experience with it and you can help me build this.
All right, problem solved. Here with us this time is our art director, Chris Brown. Welcome back.
Hi,
Hello,
Chris.
good to be back. Hi, Shane.
Hi.
So, we were just talking about channels to help you break out in marketing, and today specifically. And I think we have one client that we've been able to do this really well. And it has been over a number of years, and they wanted a way to communicate in print specifically, not just in digital channels, and educate their customers and just kind of bring some more value into the sales conversation as well. So it was kind of like a sales tool as well as a marketing tool in one. So, Chris, you've been working on it since the beginning pretty much. So maybe start with like, how has this channel, this project evolved over the years?
Yeah, I think it predates me. So I think
It
it's
goes way
before,
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
before 2018. And it's one of the first projects I started working on. We collaborated with everyone in the design department, so we each kind of had our hands in it. Um, it was random topics about printing and also digital stuff and where the industry is going. It was monthly at the time. And we had these really cool like little binders, and each year we'd update the color and the design slightly to reflect the year. um, and we would put these folded inserts in the clipped binder, so like people from our generation I feel like really kind of reminded us of the Trapper Keeper, those
Yes.
Yes.
in that form.
With
There
like
was like a
Lisa Frank
sense.
stickers on the on
Yeah.
the front.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
It was like completing your homework, and you put the complete homework in the
yes,
binder, and then at the end of the year, you have your complete set. It felt
yes.
like an accomplishment. Yeah.
The assembly was half the fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think, I don't know, was that 24? We decided to try a new form, and it's evolved into a quarterly magazine. This year will be semi-annual, a little more content included in that one, but I think everything we kind of covered in the binders, we can put into these issues. And we've got printers, we've got designers, we've got people are allowed to send in questions that we can cover.
Mm.
Let's see, what else do we got, guys? We can advertise our socials for the client. There's a nice personal letter from the editor that adds a nice touch. And we get to showcase some really cool design projects. Project inspiration is a big part of it. Industry, thought leaders, we get to ask them questions and they can elaborate on stuff that, what's coming up in the future, what to prepare for, some good best practices, just kind of anything under the sun in the printing industry. And also,
I have
yeah.
been working on the content for this project
Mhm.
for almost a decade. And what I love about the transition from the binder to the magazine is that the binder, the voice of the pieces in the binder was the brand. It was
Mhm.
purely educational. We are giving you educational content, customer. And in the magazine, because it's a magazine, it's like, yeah, like those project spotlights, but all these interviews, it brings in so many more voices. Like some of the pieces are more editorial and research driven, and then others are like educational coming from the brand, but it's a mix. So you get that feeling of when you read a magazine, like every page is going to be something new. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's really varied across the issues, and I think there's such a variety of stuff and people that we've interviewed, and there are a lot of different tones, a lot of different topics, but it encompasses kind of everything, and that's what I love about it. So it's really fun to put together too, because I think the design is really clean, minimal. It's just a really nice canvas to include all of these cool information, I think.
I can tell that you're looking at the magazines. Can
Mm-hmm.
we show them,
Yeah, sure.
Emily? Are you okay with that?
Go ahead.
You can show the client.
Oh,
So this is the first
wait.
one we did in 24. And we got to showcase some of our own artwork for the brand. Sometimes we do other folks. Our
Oh,
Apollo. This is our vertical.
and I have that sweatshirt because we
I
produced
have that
it.
sweatshirt too, and it's the comfiest sweatshirt I own.
We
Yeah,
said that cover looks so cool. We needed to like make our own fake sweatshirts, so we did. To me, what makes this so successful is something that the framework that you've built in this magazine edition in particular is, like you said, it's a canvas that can evolve and kind of mold to whatever the theme is. Because I don't think we've said that, but every edition has a totally different theme. So the topic of like what's being written and what's shown visually is reflected then in the piece. And I think that ability to maintain consistency and evolve at the same time has really given it the quality to last over time, from my perspective.
absolutely. That's right on.
What other things do you think have contributed to why this has been such an ongoing successful channel for our client?
I think it reaches out to all branches of the industry. Like I said, printers, designers, producers, thought leaders, sales. It touches, every little bit. And I think it's a great way to showcase the paper. I mean, it's not like a magazine. It is a quality magazine. The texture is gorgeous. It's accent 80-pound cover and accent 80-pound text. It's just, it looks high end. And I think there's a good amount of content in it. It's not too much. It's not overwhelming. It's just enough. It's kind of reminds me of those highlight magazines. All we need is like a crossword puzzle in there or something. But it's like, it's just,
We
it's
should
a
do
really good, yeah. Like find what's wrong with this design, circle it. And
We do have a playlist.
Wow.
Every edition does have a
We
Spotify
can
playlist.
make
yes, and
that
I totally
happen.
forgot about that. That is so much fun. The theme, we create a Spotify playlist and we all collaborate on that, come up with songs that fit the theme or just, close enough. But those are fun to listen to.
Abstract take on the theme.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite parts. But you're so right. Like the paper feels really nice. It's like we talked about this earlier. If you're gonna send print, like just don't cheap out. Like it's worth it to go for really nice paper and nice finishing if you're doing finishing, so that that piece when it lands in somebody's hand makes a real impression.
Yes.
Something else I think, because we talked about this too, just doing things well, whether it's email or in print or whatever. These articles that we're writing in this edition are only available in this channel. We don't like take this and then post it on the website and then turn it into, and I know that people will say marketing is like use all your assets and like use one piece of content and then turn it into 5. Work smarter, not harder. But in this case, I think that the exclusive message that you can only get in this magazine is like something that resonates, and it's really unique and maybe incentivizes people getting this piece in their hands versus like, this isn't special because I could read it on the website or I saw it posted in 5 other places. What do you guys think?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think sometimes things are overdone and they don't always fit their medium. And I think everything pertains to, print in this, most of it. And don't they have downloads available on the site? So you still have it, but it's in this magazine only.
Yes.
And then there is kind of a digital aspect to it where we point back to sources and we do recognize like the people we are interviewing.
Hmm.
So yeah, there is a tiny digital, but it is very exclusive, I would say. And we've gotten so many hits. I was just looking at the reporting, like thousands of scans on our QR codes and downloads,
Mm.
and it's a cool thing.
Mm.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
And where can we take it?
Where,
And
Chris?
where? Let's see. We can make it bigger. We can add more articles, and then I can even see
Yes.
this. It opens a lot of thoughts. So maybe someday we have an event, a DYK
Yeah.
event, and we can have roundtables, and we can have featured speakers that instead of putting them in the magazine, we just bring them to the event. Yeah, it could cover a lot of stuff. We'll see.
I love it. That in person, that physical, that
Mhm.
tactile, that, reminder that we're all human.
Absolutely. Expand it into the community.
Mhm.
I
Perfect.
love that idea. Also horoscopes. Just put it out there.
Oh,
There you
and
go.
if we're gonna do crosswords.
Crossword.
No.
Yeah, if we're gonna do crosswords, why not horoscopes?
Hey, if you guys are down, that's cool.
Ah.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
thanks,
you guys.
Chris.
It was great
Excellent
talking
work
about
on
this.
this. Yeah.
Thank you.
For this season of Mike's at the Bar, I'm asking fellow Trekkies to join me for a drink and 3 questions. Little do they know that I have a wild card question for them. Today I have Nick Grobe, Senior Motion Designer. All right. Thanks for joining me, Nick.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, here we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
When you start a project, what usually comes first for you? The concept, the pacing, the visuals, or the soundtrack?
It does tend to vary a little bit. Kind of on the type of project, and like what's required, like what, and I think what the story is or what message we're conveying, because there's some things where if it's more like narrative story driven, then I feel like it behooves me to find that soundtrack, because I'm very musically driven, so I like starting there. But then also getting the concept and really knowing what each stage of it is going to look like, whether it's, storyboards, mood boards, style frames, whatever. But sometimes when it's a thing where it's a lot of data or a lot of quotes or, more like high level information, sometimes I just got to get in there and start pushing stuff around, So, in that case, especially if I have like stuff that's already been established by other designers on the team, I can just get in there and start making things move.
One thing I've always noticed that you do a really good job with, and it's probably that dance between the pacing and the soundtrack, because will be able to get things that hit certain beats. So it's very cool to see how you can either like whichever comes first. If you realize you've got it all stubbed out, and then you make your little micro adjustments when you get the soundtrack in, or you start with the soundtrack.
And it also depends too, right? Like maybe something, especially if you're, I think, lucky enough to have something where you can pull some little emotional strings, then it's really cool to start with the music, because that can set such a tone,
What's the difference between a motion piece that's just technically good and one that really grabs people?
I think, again, I think I was gonna say that an emotional element makes a difference, but there's some banger, really cool, just data visualization pieces, right, by some studios. So I think I always like it when a piece has its own style. When there's like a real clear sense of style, whether it's the language of the motion or the visual style, because there's multiple different types of style that it can have. But I think when something really has its own style, that makes a really successful and cool piece.
What is one motion trend right now that you genuinely like and one that is getting overplayed?
Okay. As far as what I like, this isn't really a trend, but the Studio Buck, everything that comes out of there is top notch. They work in a ton of different styles, whether it's killer 3D to cutting edge 2D motion, smooth as silk, great looking stuff. They tend to do a lot of things with a good message. I feel like they are fortunate enough they work with a lot of clients that really have, or on a lot of projects and campaigns that I think have a good and powerful message, and they help them convey that really well. And like I said, can do it in a wide range of really great styles. So anything that's coming out of there, I'm really on board with for the last few years, really.
Overplayed.
Overplayed. Motion, language, and trend styles that were established and are coming over from like the social realm, and like the way they're calling out things or adding emphasis or the pacing and that, that sort of short attention span, gotta grab you super quick, like that stuff creeping into like all non-social motion pieces and things like that. I feel like that's, I could do with less of that.
What's interesting is that like the attention span of what social media trends are is very, very short, right? Things that you've now are thinking, oh, this is on trend, which in actuality is yesterday's news. But then by the time it starts creeping into like other disciplines in the motion and video stuff, by then it's so far past, but you're still seeing people trying to make those things work. And I agree. I think that's something that needs to be not leading that part.
Yep. And I feel like so much of that is geared towards just so surface level and having to hit so quick. And I think we can do more than that.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Nick. But you're not off the hook yet. Okay. You know this. Grampus can.
Yeah, let's see it.
Wild card question. Go ahead and pick one.
And hand it to me.
Dude.
Here we go.
All right.
Ooh, here we go. What is your go-to karaoke song that you absolutely no one expects from you?
Okay, so I'm going to admit that I've never actually done karaoke. However, I've always had kind of a promise to myself that if I ever found, the book of songs, if there was ever a karaoke DJ that had Liar by the Rollins Band, I would do that and probably freak everyone in the bar out.
That's awesome.
And that's it.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. If you like this episode of Sidetracked, rate, review it, and share it with a friend.
Sidetracked is a production of Trek. We are produced by Nick Grobe. You can learn more about Trek at trek.com. See you next time.
See you next time. One more thing. I was on Instagram and I found an ad for a Lego magazine that they send out quarterly, and they give you design inspiration ideas and cool things to do with Legos. I think our kids would love it.
I think you mean that the ad found you, not you found the ad. But you know what?
Well,
I'll take it.
Serendipitous. It found me. I found
Serendipitous.
it.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm very into that. Love Lego. Thank you for the tip.
I'll send it to you.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.